Hello, guys. Welcome to Walsh appening. Now, this one's a bit more of a serious topic today. As I explained on the last podcast, that I worked in the Ford Bridget engine plant, and it closed down last year. Now, whereas it created an opening for me to go into something that I wanted to do, and I'm doing the job I love. Well, I'm doing the job I love, but I can't because of lockdown. So I'm doing this. I like to try and keep my mind busy because I've suffered a lot with depression, anxiety, and I did want to go into this with, I've got a guest who's coming on. Now, he sort of, I've seen him through social media, to be honest, and he can just, now, I don't know if anybody, there's a lot of people who suffer with depression. It's a massive issue. It's been a massive issue, and it's an even bigger issue with these lockdowns, because what's the worst thing you can do to somebody who's suffering with depression is lock them away and tell them you're not allowed to go and see anybody and speak to anybody. That's the worst thing you can do. But this guy I've seen on social media, who I've had a chat with, he's going to come in. Now, he can really talk. He describes what that feeling is a lot better than I can. It's hard to, until you've been through it, then you really have got no way of understanding when something else has got control of your mind, and you can't control it, and you can't control where your mind spirals and keeps pushing you to keep going worse and worse, and you spiraling and you can't stop it. Everything feels like your head's in a bloody washing machine, and you can't get to grips with what's going on. Now, he described something that was very, it was the best way I've heard it described when he was trying to go to the doctors to get help. And the way he worded it, I'd like him to come in and basically describe it the way he did in his video, his short clip he done on Facebook. But the reason I'm doing this today is there's been another life taken from Ford's yesterday. I found out today. Now, I didn't know the guy personally. I sort of recognize him a bit, and I just feel like there's just not enough being done to sort of help with the issue we've got with mental health. And these lockdowns are not, they're not serving a good purpose for people who are struggling really with mental health, and there needs to be more done. Like, it's all well and good telling people you're not allowed to go out, you spread the virus, but this lockdown isn't helping at all. A case of it's out of control anyway, depression is, and then you're taking away people's social, this is just one of the things. You're taking away their rights to socialise and go and speak to friends who can sort of help you. You're taking that away from them, and then you're taking away people's rights to go out and earn a living. So then it's creating more worry and stress that they can't, provide for their families. And, a lot of places, when I worked in Ford's, there was a lot of, I found a lot of like solace in confiding in friends in work when I was going through a tough time. Now, I'll talk about my tough time because there was a lot of It was a series of events that came together that created this perfect storm. Now, it doesn't always work out like that for everybody, but for me, there was a reason behind why I was ill. Now, I was ill. My dog had died, right? This is how the series of events that came together and created something that nearly killed me, basically. My dog had died. I'd had my dog for like 14, 15 years. Brandy, she was a right little shit. Staff cross boxer, but she was so naughty, right, that and caused so much stress. There were so many stories to tell about her that when my dog actually died, it was quite, sad when anybody's dog dies, but it hit me a lot harder than I ever expected it would ever hit me. And it made me ill, like physically ill. I was being sick. I came down with like flu-like symptoms. I couldn't really put my finger on. I just thought I was ill at exactly the same time my dog had died. But that wasn't the case. This was the start of something that had just snapped. Now, ended up ending a relationship I was in at the time. On the same week my dog had died. Then it was the going into Christmas. So then going into Christmas, and then it's the worst time to be going through. Christmas is the worst time to be going into when you're going through any state of depression, really. Everybody's happy. It's all over the adverts. Everybody's sitting on the table as a family. Everything about Christmas is great when things are going good. When things aren't going good, it's the worst. It's the worst time. It's the worst possible. You just want it over with, and you just want to bury your head in the sand, and you can't because it's everywhere. So coming out of that anyway, for 3.5 months, I was really, really ill. I wasn't eating. I visibly lost loads of weight. I just didn't look well at all. I wasn't sleeping. I was having the shakes. My nervous system was starting to react because I obviously wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. 3.5 months. I mean, I didn't sleep a night in 3.5 months. It was just consistently getting worse and worse and worse. My parents were worried sick about me. Even though they were asking me to go and stay there. I couldn't stay there because I was so sort of on edge. I couldn't sit down and watch TV. I just was pacing back and forth, worrying. As soon as the night was closing in, I was feeling the stress of I'm not going to be able to reach out to anybody and talk to them, because even though I didn't want to be with anybody, because I knew I was physically too on edge to sit and stay like over my parents with them, or if I had friends over, I just couldn't sit still and kept talking and saying like, what am I going to do? It just wasn't me. But when I was physically in it, I just thought I was like literally just going through like a really tough time, and I needed to get over it. But unbeknown to me, 3.5 months later, the doctors finally, I was going back and forth to the doctors, couldn't get the help that I needed. They were just changing, they were giving me antidepressants, changing the antidepressants. They were telling me when they were changing the antidepressants, you could get worse. The chances are you're going to get worse before you get better. And I was like, I physically cannot get any worse. I can't. If I get worse, it's over. So the doctors just pretty much just tried to plow me with different antidepressants, and that wasn't working. So eventually they sent me for blood tests. Now this is the key thing I wanted to talk about here, because this is what saved me. I've got underactive thyroid. I've got an underactive thyroid. Now, yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. Now, underactive thyroid, I was diagnosed about 9 years before I came down with this illness, depression. Basically, my skin went all green. I had black under my eyes. I couldn't keep my eyes open for more than 10 minutes. I was just sleeping all the time in work. Everybody just thinks you're lazy. It's not that. It was underactive thyroid. That's what the problem was in the end. They diagnosed it, sent me for blood tests, put me on thyroxine. Job done. I was all right. My levels were all fine. Now, this is what sparked it off, is I changed my doctor. And when I changed my doctor, they asked me how much thyroxine I was on. I said, well, I'm not too sure the exact measurements of what it was. So they said, right, we'll put you on a certain amount of thyroxine and we'll bring you back in for a test. Now, I didn't get called for another test, right? And I didn't think anything of it, but I'd been taking these new prescription of thyroxine 2 months, no, not 2 months, sorry, 2 years, for 2 years. So for 2 years, I was taking this thyroxine from when I changed my doctors. Now, little things now, when I look back, it creeps through. When I was losing my temper, I was sort of getting anxious and stressing about things, and things were playing on my mind. Now, I didn't know that I was taking nearly double the amount of thyroxine I should have been on. So I was overdosing on thyroxine. And even if I did know, I wouldn't have known what the effects of overdosing on thyroxine could do. Basically, taking too much thyroxine sends you into a deep depression, suicidal thoughts, pushes your anxiety levels through the roof. It just makes you mentally ill. And that's what happened when my dog died. It triggered off a mental breakdown, basically. And I still, you're talking, this is years ago. It's got to be about 3 years ago. Still suffer with anxiety now. It's once you've gone to that dark place, you're never going to forget that dark place. Anytime I get, and anytime you get a bit stressed, like I've just gone through losing my job, you're never going to come out of that. You're always going to think, oh, is it coming back? Is it coming back? Now, I don't know how we can tackle this issue with depression. There's a lot to answer for. Like, I've talked about the benefits of social media, but I'm going to talk about the negative side of social media now, is where everybody paints a picture that everybody's life is so perfect, and look at me and my Instagram pictures, everything is, hunky-dory, and it's not. Their lives aren't like that. They're not living these lives that they portray. There's only a few people who are living those lives they portray, and that's probably the Beckhams, and they probably don't get on with they're not getting on 24 hours of the day. They get stresses themselves. So there's a lot of people who like to portray they live in these perfect lives, and they're not. And until people come to the realization that nobody's perfect and everybody goes through down times, and people are struggling, and people need to sort of, because even when you're going through that stage of deep depression, even though you try and push people away, and people are coming to try and, like, my parents were there for me. I had a good base where my parents were there, my sister was there, my family was there around me, but I still felt alone. So even if somebody is trying to push you away, if you're coming from the side of, if you're trying to help somebody who you can see is in a deep depression and they're pushing you away, don't just back away and think, oh right, I've tried to help. Well, keep offering and showing that you're there for them, because even though I had, I've got a good base, a lot of people haven't got that base. And that's another thing. I can only talk from my experience. I was trying to push my parents and that away and saying, look, I don't. But then I was ringing them at like 4 a.m. because I just needed to reach out. And like, I can't imagine what that's like from my parents' side, where they're trying to help. I'm sort of telling them, look, I can't have you here. I can't be there. But then I'm ringing them at like 4 a.m. and then they're rushing over. So, like, that's all I can say in that sense is don't give up and just back away. Constantly sort of be there, send a message, give a phone call, pop in, because it doesn't matter how many people are there trying to help you. You just feel the most alone you can ever feel. So you need. It may feel like there's nothing more you can do, but just show you're there and support them. I want to get this guy on. Obviously, these lockdowns, I've got people lined up to get on, and I can't get anybody in at the minute because of this lockdown. So it's just, it's sad news to you that there's somebody else from Fords who has lost their life, and I just hope that we can bring more awareness to it, and hopefully get the NHS to sort of try and deal with things a little bit better. Now, when they found out that I was like taking these thyroxine tablets, they straight away contacted me. How long have you been taking these thyroxine tablets for? I said, well, 2 years. About 2 years ago, I moved over. They like stopped taking them immediately. They put me on like diazepam to knock me out. And it was just, I was just zonked basically for it. It's like I'm still not right now, but it took me a while before I sort of come round, and I was like, what the hell happened? Like, it's a dangerous place when you're not in control of your mind. Your mind has got control of you, and you can't stop your thoughts taking you down that avenue. And once you go into that avenue and it's a dark place and you experience that darkness, when you come out, you're a different person. You've seen something that you can't unsee. So I just want to try and bring awareness to people, because there was a lot of stigmatism with mental health in the past, where people, men are afraid to sort of talk about. Now, that's something that didn't happen with me. I sort of knew there was something wrong, and I was trying to tell everybody, and they were all saying, yeah, you're going through a tough time. I was like, no, there's something all right. There's something, and I was trying to explain something's happened, and I don't know what's happened, but something's not right. I'm not processing things as I would normally. But if you're going through a tough time, you need to reach out to people. You need to reach out to family, friends, and you need to tell them. You need to reach out, and you need to speak to somebody, tell them how you're feeling. Go to the doctors, speak to them, tell them how you're feeling. I would advise, now I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but why aren't they looking into people's thyroids? What if somebody's got a naturally overactive thyroid? So I'm underactive thyroid. I was taking tablets to become level, but then when the doctor gave me over, that pushed me into an overactive thyroid. Now, if that causes depression, why isn't the thyroid gland being talked about more with, linked to depression? If somebody's got a naturally overactive thyroid, does that then mean that they go into a state of depression, anxiety, stress, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I would have thought that if somebody's got a naturally overactive thyroid, is that going to push them into a state of depression? Now, I don't know if somebody on here is going to be watching who can talk about, maybe shed some light on that. But you'd never really hear anybody linking up the thyroid, you know, whether you're overactive or underactive, with depression. Now, that was news to me because I was taking these tablets every day and they were pushing me over the edge. And I was thinking, I got to keep on top of these tablets because, you know, I'm not well as it is and I got to stay on top of it. And it was pushing me further and further into this dark hole. And the deeper you go into that dark hole, it's hard to get out. I never thought I was going to come out. I didn't think I was going to come out the other end. I mean, I've got a daughter. I would never ever think of leaving, you know, my daughter behind. But when you're in that place, you're being tortured inside. It's like somebody's holding a bloody hot press to your insides, and you're being tortured from the inside out, and you want to escape it. And you know, if anybody who says anything about depression and what they did was selfish, you need to seriously bloody look into what you're saying, because you've got no clue what you're talking about. Because unless you've been, you better hope anybody who says anything negative about depression, you better hope it doesn't happen to you, because you're going to wish you never said those words, because you're just being tortured. You're being tortured and you need to escape. Because, when I try and explain it, I'm like, you imagine now you've got captured and then tortured to the point where in the end you're just saying, I need to end it. Can you, right? That's where you get pushed to. And it sounds dramatic, but just because somebody on the outside may look like what's going on inside is a different thing. So people need to be more sympathetic, and I think people are a lot more sympathetic now than what they were years ago. Years ago, it just used to be sort of made out to be a bit of so-and-so's trying it on to get out of work. But there's a reason, we need to get to the bottom of what the reason is of why there's such an increase in it. And even though there's a lot more understanding about it now, we're so far away from getting to the sort of bottom of it and working out how to help people who are struggling with it. Like I'm even now, I've been through it and I still find it hard to sort of talk about and put it into words what I actually went through. So in fairness, Fords were brilliant with the way they handled the situation. They could visibly see I was really ill. Like, I was worrying about going when they called me in to have a chat. I was worried about, are they going to try and push me to come back to work? And I knew I was just physically ill. I was just physically ill, mentally ill. And I was worried that if they tell me now I'm going to lose my job if I don't go back to work, I don't know how long I can last. I'm just not going to be able, I can't function. I can't do everyday things. And they were brilliant in fairness, so my hat comes off to them. But yeah, we're in a stressful time with lockdowns at the minute anyway. But I just think stopping people who are suffering, there's people who are going through a tough time at the minute, and then you're putting them into lockdown, and it's not good. It's not good. So, right guys, thank you for your time again. This is Walshy, and I'm going to hopefully I'm not going to name him now, but I'm going to get this guy on the next podcast. I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know how long this lockdown's going to go on for. What I may try and do is, I've been looking into how to get Skype calls coming across on here. So my thoughts go out to this guy's family. And guys, just reach out, talk to somebody, and listen. There's people who care about you no matter what, right? So don't matter how dark you feel, or on the other end, if you think somebody's going through a tough time, don't stand back and give them the space and leave them to think, oh yeah, leave them sorted out, because you need to reach out and just try and be there for each other, guys. Right? So, what's happening, guys? I'll catch you soon.